morning. Good morning. So we're talking all about growing this month. All about growing. Last week we discussed tilling the soil, right? Getting our minds prepared. Keeping our thoughts high on truth. Well, keeping our thoughts high on truth and not getting caught up in the human race consciousness, right? And all the drama that brings with it. I mean, we love our drama. I get it. But, we want to keep tilling that soil and keeping it grounded in truth and knowing and keeping it in the absolute, right? And not getting caught up in the stuff, the human race consciousness that floats through all the time. It's the not enoughness stuff and the lack and the loneliness and the limitation and all the ways that fear can show up as, reality. Be realistic, the facts, all that stuff, right? We must till the soil of our minds, prepare it with thoughts of truth, of abundance, of beauty and balance and joy and order and all of those qualities of God, that freedom and that wholeness. This is the fertile soil of receptivity that we want to plant our seeds in, right? And our seeds are the seeds of thought. They are the seeds of our thought. And those thoughts are the ones we keep going back to over and over and over, right? With absolute repetition. It's those thoughts that we keep rethinking over and over and over are the ones that are most likely to sprout. That's what Ernest Holmes said. All right? So, and why? Well, think about it. Think about when you plant a garden. You don't plant one seed of tomato, right? You don't plant one seed of eggplant or one seed, Steve. You don't plant just one seed of, one kernel of corn and assume that one seed will bring you a harvest of good. No, we plant a whole row of the same thing, don't we? We plant multiple seeds of the same thing. We imitate nature, right? Nature places an abundance of seeds in everything that it produces, right? Cut open a tomato, look at it. Dozens and dozens and dozens of seeds. This guarantees reproduction. It guarantees the next generation, right? Each piece of fruit or vegetable houses the potential for hundreds and hundreds of future plants. So when we plant the seeds of thought, the ones we think over and over and over and over again, those are the ones most likely to take root and grow. That stray thought you have doesn't germinate. Just doesn't germinate. And this is why Ernest Holmes said, you cannot spend 10 or 15 minutes in the morning in prayer and in affirmation and in contemplation and then spend the rest of your day in opposition to that, thinking thoughts of limitation and lack and whatever, and expect anything to grow from those little 15 minutes. It's not going to happen. So given that, we need to plant rows of thoughts, more than one. We must mind our mind. Mind our mind, mind our thoughts. We want our most predominant thoughts to be thoughts of truth, thoughts of beauty, thoughts of love, thoughts of abundance, thoughts of wholeness. Dr. Anthony Fernando said this. He said, you must understand that your thoughts lead to actions, and your actions develop into habits, and it is your habits that determine your results in life. It's all connected. So January 1st rolls around, right? And what do? We decide to make all these New Year's resolutions. This is the year. This is the year, folks, right? We say that to ourselves. We're going to get fit. We're going to go to the gym. We're going to lose weight. We're going to eat right. And we start hitting the gym, right? And we change the food that we eat. We make better choices for ourselves. We get more sleep. We get more exercise, we eat right, and then a couple of weeks into it, what happens? We get out of the shower, and as we're walking past the mirror, we go, oh, crap, this isn't working, right? This isn't working. I don't look any different. This isn't working. That is the negative thought. Right there. I don't think it's working. That is the negative thought. That is the one we need to pluck out like the weed that it is. Because that's what it is. In our garden of positive intentions, of our affirmative prayer, that's the weed. That very thought. And if we don't pull it out right away, what happens? They grow, they multiply, they choke out the good intentional thoughts, all of the progress we've been making, all of the affirmations we've been making. Ernest Holmes said this, in the Science of Mind text, he said, we must say that all thought is creative, according to the nature, impulse, emotion, and conviction behind that thought. Thought creates the mold in the subjective, in which the idea is accepted and poured, and sets power in motion in accordance with that thought. And he goes on to say, ignorance of this excuses no one from its effects, for we're dealing with a law. We're dealing with a law. And that law, which excuses no one, right? That's what he said, doesn't care whether you're putting a negative or a positive thought into it. The law doesn't make a distinction that we do. It'll germinate the negative thought just as easily as it'll germinate the positive thought. And if we allow those negative ones to hang around long enough, what happens? The negative ones become the predominant thought, right? We say, man, I've been going to the gym for weeks, and I don't look any different. Nothing's changing. Nothing's happening. And if we allow that one to grow, what happens? We make an excuse not to go to the gym, right? We make an excuse not to go to the gym. Or we go back to eating stuff that we know will not get us to our goal. Then, we do it anyway. Or we give up going entirely, because we've allowed that negative thought to grow to become the predominant thought. So identifying our weeds, not weeds, but weeds. Not that weed, come on, okay. Identifying your weed, I'm not talking like sativa, no, I'm not like that. I meant those weeds of thought is an important part of being a good gardener. We have to, it's like that's a limiting thought. It doesn't belong there. It does not belong in my consciousness. And being that good and conscious and awake and aware gardener, you have to pull it up, And there's also your friends, not only your own inner critic, but you have friends, right? And they will support you and subtly undermine you at the same time. You have friends who will very lovingly say, but you have to be realistic at your age. Or, things like that, right? I mean, really, they will say, or you don't want to aim too high and be disappointed. Just like very gently, lovingly. But they're still weeds in the form of care and concern. But they're still weeds. So whether they come from the inner critic or from the outer concern, family and friends, we still have to identify them and we still have to weed them out because they are limiting thoughts. We have to go back and we have to double down on the intentions we set. We have to go back and double down. Like you're looking for a job, right? Every resume you send out is another seed. You see how that works? Every connection that you make, every contact, every referral, like I said, every resume, every phone call is another seed. It's another seed. You don't just apply for one job, right? Go, well, that's it. If I don't get that one, that's it. I'm screwed. I'm gonna live under a bridge. You don't do that. You send out multiples. You plant seeds. We plant a row, right? Going back to getting out of the shower, okay? So we get out of the shower, we look at the body, and the first reaction is, it's not working. Nothing's changed. Going to the gym is a waste. Look again. But this time, don't judge by appearances, right? Good advice. I think I read it in the Bible somewhere. Don't judge by appearances. Double down on your affirmation because things are happening below the level of awareness. Things are happening beneath the level of the physical. Change is happening. So double down on your affirmations. Use Emile Coué's affirmation, right? You know Emile Coué's every day in every way I am better and better. Every day in every way I am better and better. When we plant the seeds of thought, we begin with the goal. Right? You begin with the goal in mind. The end, right? The end result. But every step that you take between here and there is your affirmation. Every step that you take, every advancement that you make, even if you don't see a difference, you know that a difference is happening. Just like when we plant seeds in the garden, right? Before they've even sprouted, we're already tasting the harvest in our mind, aren't we? We're planting seeds, we're like, oh, yum, Jersey, big, fat beefsteak tomatoes. Those are my favorites, or those little tiny plum tomatoes or whatever. But you can already taste them, right? Before the plant is even grown, before it's even broken through the soil. You have the end in mind. You know what the harvest is going to look like. The same is true with the seeds of thought in our minds. In the Bible, in Ezekiel, it says, excuse me, take thou also unto thee wheat and barley and beans and lentils and millet and spelt and put them into one vessel and make thee bread thereof. Lovely, isn't it? See that? You didn't know the Bible was part cookbook, did you? But it is, and it makes a great bread, by the way. If you've tried that recipe, oh my God, it's delicious. Anyway, we begin in intention with that in mind. We plant the seeds in the ground, but we can smell the bread baking already, can't you? You can smell it. That's what we do with our intentions. We set them in the present tense, but with the goal in mind, with it accomplished, right? It is. That's our affirmation. We can see it, we can feel it, we can taste it. Oh, just like that bread. And that's why our intentions are always in the present tense, because it's happening now. Because someplace in the realm of spirit, in the mind of God, think about it, in the mind of God, it really is happening now. Even though you haven't seen it, even though it's not in your reality, it's already occurred in the mind of God, or else you couldn't even have that idea, right? It's in universal mind, it's in universal intelligence, and even though you can't see it, it's already there. So that's why our affirmations are in the present tense. They're already there. So we say our affirmations in the present tense as if it is, because it is happening, right? So our affirmations are present tense. They're powerful, they're passionate, they're purposeful, they're positive, what an alliteration. Mind your P's, guys. Mind your P's. Present, positive, passionate, purposeful. That makes for really powerful affirmations, and powerful is the fifth one. There you go. That's the 5, right? Powerful, present tense, positive, passionate, purposeful. Those are your affirmations. And they're all as if. Now. It is happening now. That is the way to create an affirmation. That's how we change our thinking, change our life. So, when we get out of the shower and we look in the mirror and we say, nothing's changed, that's when we double down on our affirmations. Whether it's the inner critic or the outer critic, right, sends us that negative comment, we double down on our P's. Powerful, positive, present tense. Ernest Holmes said this: simply affirm that you belong to the universe in which you live. A power greater than you are has put you here. Everyone has a place to fill, and the world has need of you now. Therefore, you must affirm and believe you are one with life because you represent life. You are one with infinite intelligence because you can think and reason and have the capacity to choose. You are a creation in divine mind, and therefore you are a child of God. Now, I would say you're an adult of God, but that's about the only thing I would change of that, because I don't want to reinforce this idea of infantilizing, right, our relationship with the divine. We're not children, and God is no big daddy in the sky. Just not. I'm not going there. We co-create with a power that is greater than we are. We co-create with a power that is greater than we are. And we do that by tilling the soil of our minds, creating that fertile ground, planting the seeds of thought that we would have manifest, and not the things we don't want. Not the things we don't want. We have to ignore those. We have to turn away from those. We do not pay attention to the things we don't want. Because what we're doing when we're doing that is actually really paying. We're paying, and the currency is energy. And when we pay attention to things we don't want, we're actually feeding them, right? We're feeding them energy in order for them to be sustained and grow. So we don't do that. We don't judge by appearances. We don't pay attention to the negative stuff, you know? Oh, it looks like this, so that's going to happen. Anybody been on Facebook lately? Holy moly. We got a whole bunch of geniuses out there. It looks like this, so that's going to happen, right? And you have all these people running around with their little crystal balls. Well, telling, based on this is what's going to happen. Based on what happened here, this is what's going to happen in November. Really? Really? Okay. Do me a favor. Give me the 6 winning lotto numbers then, okay? If you know exactly what's going to happen. Since you know exactly what's going to happen, let's do that. No, we set our intentions. We set our intentions. We plant the seeds. We tend the garden of the mind well, rejecting negative thoughts, doubling down on positive thoughts. Water, fertilize, spend time in it is. It is. Because at some point we know that. We know that it is in the mind of God. It absolutely, past, present, and future, right? They're just a continuum. They're one thing. So we know that somewhere in the mind of God it absolutely is. Keep the goal in mind. Keep the end in mind. Every single affirmation we make sure the end is always in mind. We know this as an accomplished thing. And don't let the voice of the world, the human race consciousness, creep in and allow you to doubt. Ernest Holmes did a great talk in 1951, The Contagion of Fear. Lovely talk. And he started out this way. He said, friends, not even the new wonder drugs can help us if we have fear. And whether or not we have thought much about it, fear is probably the most contagious disease in the world. Right? Isn't that lovely? Back in 51, right? He had a handle on it. And he said, right now, the whole world is largely governed by fear. Just like he's right here in the room with us. We are afraid of this and that, and something else we're afraid of that has happened, and what is happening, and what we think is going to happen. And as a result of this, there's great confusion in the world and great uncertainty, and we all cry out for strong leaders to tell us what to do. Wow, Ernest Holmes was just such a mystic. Anyway, and he said, but we have to realize that real leadership starts with the individual. And until we sort out our own thoughts, we cannot expect greater leadership. Breathe, hang with me. Let us not forget that if fear is contagious, faith is doubly so. And that was the theme of his talk. Faith is doubly so. So fear has no place in this. Fear has no place in planting these seeds. We must not deny we have thoughts of fear, right? And we're not trying to cover it over and put a little, what is that? You put a smiley face over the check engine light, I'm not saying do that. Don't do that. So really think about it, it's like, well, it's right, We're not going to go there. So if you have fear thoughts, what do you do with them? You face them. You call your practitioner. You call your minister. You get affirmative prayer, right? You replace the seeds of negativity with seeds of positive affirmations. You double down on your positive affirmations. And you ignore the appearances. And that's how we plant the seeds of thought. That's how we change our thinking, change our mind, change our lives. By changing what we're planting. So this is your task this week, is to mind your mind. Mind your mind. Stay conscious of the words that are coming out of your mouth, of the thoughts that are crossing through your mind. Plant only positive. Plant only thoughts of love and joy. Just remain in the garden of the absolute, and plant only love, because God is love and we are that. Thank you so much.